Minister, the property tax, so-called, is a fundamentally unjust tax because it takes no account whatsoever of the income or ability to pay of the homeowner. And it becomes even more unfair in the context of the disastrous failure of this government to control a fundamentally dysfunctional housing market. We have seen property prices go off the Richter scale. In areas like my own, much of Dublin, and you could say the same about many other urban centres, the value of property has gone through the roof, and that will impact on the amount of property tax people have to pay. But of course, that bears no relationship to the income of the person in the house. So because we have got property prices that nobody can afford, the people who happen to live in those areas where property prices are extremely high and have gone out of control, they will be punished just for living in particular areas. And by the way, in the long term, what that leads to, as well as many other things like the failure to build social housing in many of these areas, it will lead to a sort of social cleansing of many of these areas, where people on lower incomes simply won't be able to live in certain places, and the property tax punishes them for the fact that they happen to live in a particular place. It's noteworthy, it's not just the socialist left. We've been saying this for a long time and indeed actively campaigned against the introduction of this tax. I note Lorcan Sir on drive time this morning, when asked the direct question, is it a fair tax, is it a regressive tax, he said, no, it's not a fair tax, it is a regressive tax. The government should accept that. In the aftermath of COVID in particular, they shouldn't be loading it on people. They should abolish this tax and introduce a proper wealth tax.
Minister Paschal Donoghue.
I thank the deputies for raising this matter, Ceann Comhairle. The programme for government includes a commitment to bring forward legislation in relation to the local property tax on the basis of fairness, and that most homeowners will not face an increase in their local property tax liability. In addition, there is a commitment to bring new homes which are currently exempt from local property tax into the taxation system. Accordingly, yesterday, the government gave its approval for the general scheme of the Finance Local Property Tax Amendment Bill of 2021. This bill will now be drafted to give effect to a package of measures addressing the programme commitments and related matters. Perhaps the most significant proposal is a revised method for calculating LPT liabilities. The new approach maintains the number of bands at 20. Band 1 is expanded from €1 to €2,000, and Band 2 contains values in the range of €200,000 to €262,500. The LPT charge is fixed at the current charge for Bands 1 and 2, which is €90 and €225 respectively. A 75% increase is applied to all thresholds, which is broadly consistent with the 74% increase observed in property prices up to 2020, a forecast 2% increase for this year, but then in addition to this, a lower rate of 0.1029% is applied, and the existing charging structure is maintained. There is currently a higher rate for properties valued above €1 million, with the first million charged at 0.18%, and everything above at a higher rate of 0.25%. Properties are charged on the self-assessed value at individual property level. Under the proposed methodology, it was likely that owners of higher value properties could benefit from reductions in LPT liabilities due to the widening of the bands and the reduced rate. To address this, we proposed that a higher rate should be applied to properties above €1.05 million by charging a higher midpoint rate on bands above that level, and a third rate be applied to properties above €1.75 million. So properties in bands 12 to 19 between €1.05 million and €1.75 million will be charged a midpoint rate made up of 0.1029% on the first €1 million and 0.25% on the balance, and properties in Band 20 will be charged on individual property prices up to 0.3%. Residential properties built after the current valuation date of the 1st of May 2013 remain outside the charge to LPT. These properties will now become liable at the next valuation date of the 1st of November. Previously exempt properties purchased during 2013 and trading stock of builders and developers unsold on the 1st of May 2013 are sold in the period the 1st of January 2013 to the 31st of October 2021 will now be brought into the charge. The general scheme also provides that all new residential properties built between valuation dates will be retrospectively valued as if they had existed on the preceding valuation date. New properties becoming liable for the LPT charge at the next liability date, i.e. the following 1st of November, will be valued at the previous valuation date, and the revenue will provide assistance to property owners to determine this value. This will maximise the local property tax base and ensure equity. The measures proposed for this bill fulfil the programme for government commitments in this area and secure the future of the local property tax. The government has decided to cut both the rate of the tax and widen the bands to make charges affordable. This means that the majority of homeowners are likely to see either a decrease or no change. Where increases occur, the majority will be a single band of €90, notwithstanding the significant increases
Minister,
we have seen in property values
conclude
since 2013. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, Minister, the property tax is not just an unfair tax, it's an utterly pointless tax. When you introduced it, when the Fine Gael-led government introduced it, it was the justification for it was it would dampen the property market and it would fund local government, fund local services. Now we see the reality, not a single extra cent for local government, and now with the removal of the equalisation fund, actually we're going to deepen the gap between the ability of councils to fund services depending on where they happen to be, and of course it has done absolutely nothing to dampen the market, which has gone completely out of control. So there is no point to this tax, and it is an unfair tax. Now, what's the alternative? As Deputy Murphy said, a wealth tax on the billionaires. But here's another suggestion. Put a tax on multiple property owners, not on the family home, but on multiple property owners, and you could raise just as much money, and it would be a far fairer and less regressive tax.
Minister, you have 2 minutes to conclude.
Deputy Boyd Barrett responds back to what I've said. Deputy Murphy comes in here, reads out a script that was written a decade ago. Look at what the government announced yesterday, €4 billion worth of investment in their future, on top of last year's budget, which led to record levels of investment in our future. Look at the employment wage subsidy scheme, where the state is standing absolutely behind Irish workers, is standing full square behind Irish employers to maintain jobs, to maintain income, at exactly the time in which that help is needed the most. The two political parties represented by the two deputies today are in favour of tackling the climate crisis, but they're against any changes in carbon pricing. They want higher spending, higher investment in housing, but they're against any changes in the local property tax. The kind of politics we're seeing here this morning that I expect to see more of in the coming weeks, in the coming months, and in the coming years is for nothing, it's against everything. The measure that this government is bringing forward is looking to broaden the local property tax base, so all homes are taxed fairly. We're making changes in relation to the way in which the bands are structured, the rate is delivered, to do all we can to ensure that the bill that is going to be presented to homeowners across January and February next year is fair and it is as affordable as possible. I'm absolutely aware of the challenges that homeowners, the challenges of our citizens and all they face at the moment. But that is why we brought in all the measures that we announced yesterday to help guide our country through this crisis. And I'm absolutely certain if I was to bring in some of the measures the deputies are looking for and have just called for, they'd find some reason for opposing them as well, Deputy. Thank you.